bills are estimates based on usage. That would be the Lincoln Way West electric bill, Central water bill, and West water bill. We just have not received those invoices yet. We do know the usage. On the first page, there's a couple of charts just outlining. The first one, utilities and contractual maintenance costs by location, where the money is going or building. By category, you can see that electricity is by far our biggest expense, followed by our cleaning service, and then natural gas, water, trash, telecommunication, and lawn care. Year to date for FY17, we've spent $171,322 less than the same period in FY16. That's combined. The following pages break it out by building. Central is pretty much operating at about the same amount of expenses it did last year. They spent $1,500 yet less so far this year. At East, they spent $20,000 less. North, they've spent $145,000 less. And West actually has spent $8,500 more year to date than last year. The last page is basically the document that you've received in the past, which gives detail to all the expenses.
Rich, did we turn the power off at North?
We've turned some of the power off. For that specific issue with the water in the basement, there was an overloaded ejector pump, and when they say overloaded, that's an electrical term, so that there's a device in there to protect the motor from burning up, so it turns it off, and then the softener regenerated. So the pump wasn't able to pump the water out. The maintenance man found that, reset the pump, and everything was okay.
And then we were working with Brickman on was it a fungus? What was the?
We don't have the soil report back yet. Jim Randall's working on that for the front yard. We've had trouble with the grass in the front yard there in the past.
No, you haven't. But it's always looked great. Never. My kid's been there. Never seen it like that.
Go ahead, Mr. Wilkie. So we haven't received the soil report.
So Mr. Randall and I have talked, and we talked previously this year after noticing the damage to the grass, and his plan is to oversee that area.
Okay.
Brickman was out and did a better job. He did take action, called that company and asked them to do better, and they have done better as far as weed eating, removing weeds, and mowing.
Okay. Thank you.
You just got to keep an eye on that and just report back to us on the next one if you appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Good evening. Tonight I'll start with our alumni activities. The class of 2006 is anticipating their reunion next weekend. It will kick off at the homecoming game on September 30th. And members of the class of 1987 have started to plan their reunion for the fall of 2017. On the foundation side, the foundation has been producing school calendars as one of our fundraisers since 1995. This year's campaign recently closed with a net profit just north of $39,000, our best result since 2011. Approximately 80 local businesses expressed their support of Lincoln Way High School District 210 by advertising in the calendar. 19 are new advertisers. To date, about 2,063 Lincoln Way families have purchased a calendar. I'd like to recognize the calendar co-chairs, Sanjay Adabi and Bob Shazar. Our Dream Raffles early bird deadline was this past Sunday. Dream Raffle co-chairs Janet Kasheta and Carl Landenberger will draw the early bird prize winners on Saturday, October 1st. Sales events are scheduled throughout the community for the remainder of the campaign, which wraps up on October 29th with a grand prize drawing at Curry Motors. Foundation directors will welcome our most loyal donors, partners of the foundation, at the Partner Luncheon on Thursday, October 13th. This long-standing event is one of our favorites, when we have the opportunity to thank those whose generosity enhances the classroom experiences of our students and our teachers. Since our inception in 1994, for 22 years, the Lincoln Way Foundation has remained focused on our mission. The unwavering dedication of Foundation board directors, unparalleled support of our community, and generosity of thousands of donors has had a positive impact on the educational experiences of our Lincoln Way students for generations. Tonight, I'd like to recognize the Foundation Board of Directors, present and past, for their proud history of service. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Strategic setting. Curriculum and instruction, you've seen these goals one time before. I've included community relations and technology as a first reading. We're still working on our financial goals as we have a new team in place, but this would just be a first reading of goals. Take time, read through those. If you have any questions or comments, please get those to me. We would bring those back in October, but at the same time as we move through our strategic planning process, these will be incorporated, I would think, in some form or fashion.
Superintendent's district report.
District report, the Pride in Lincoln Way is at your places. You can read that at your leisure. And then we discussed briefly a proposed budget timeline. It's something I've sent to the board. I would propose a proposed budget timeline to include board discussion of financial goals in October. The discussion would be fund balance, tax anticipation warrants, building improvements, capital projects, technology, salary benefit structure, curriculum and instruction. All, once again, can be all wrapped into some of our strategic planning. In November, October and into November, we'll have numbers from our feeder districts. We'll be able to develop enrollment projections. We use the September 30th housing number to do those. So that will be brought forward in October, November for discussion by the board. Those enrollments will be based upon feeder school real numbers. In December, we had originally had the presentation of tax levy. We've moved that up. December will begin our 10-year life safety survey, and that will conclude in January. So in January, February, we'll have the 10-year life safety survey results, and then revisit those board discussions of financial goals based upon those findings and set that plan forward for capital project. The month of March, it brings staffing for the 17-18 school year. April financial projections, I think we can do that before then, Chris, and I know Joe has discussed this. We'll begin that process. We'll have a pretty good handle on our staffing once we see our enrollment numbers. Board authorization of any limited purchasing moving forward for fiscal year 18 would occur in May. And then we want to move that tentative budget timeline up a little bit for board consideration and discussion. But here's just a proposed timeline, something obviously we're thinking about and trying to work towards an improvement of our budget, continued improvement of our budgeting process. Also this evening, I'd like to take a minute. Rich has been working very hard at a RFP, but development of on-site childcare. In the first discussion that would need to take place, obviously whether or not we want to stay in the business. If the district wants to stay in the business, how best to construct an RFP based upon the direction of the board in terms of revenues. We've discussed, I think we want to stay out of the business of furniture and cribs but Rich has gone and talked to three outside providers to get their perspective, to get their discussion. We're putting all of that information together in a memo to present to the board. I think, we will now be meeting next Thursday. That may be a discussion of do we want to move an RFP forward? Do you want that to go to the Building and Finance Committee? Or do we say this is the last year to move forward? It's up for discussion, but it's certainly something that we could table and discuss next week once I get the complete findings from Rich. It's up to the board.
And I think it's a fruitful discussion to have, but obviously like having a full board, with Christine and Dee out today, I think that's And it's not, we can't take any action on it.
No,
anyway, so-
but direction.
Right.
Direction.
Yes.
Could you also, while you're doing the assessment of potential providers, give us some feedback on the staff? Because at the end of the day, I get the providers are there to provide the service. The only reason to even remotely consider this would be the impact on the staff.
Yes.
We're going to remotely consider this, that the impact on the staff. So whenever we decide to discuss it, whether it's next Thursday or next October, not next October, October's meeting, that I'd like to see that population assessment of the staff be part of that discussion.
I don't think this can wait till October.
No, I think
It has to
next
be
week.
next
Oh, next
week, and if if board decides to move forward, it has to go out.
Yes.
No, if it goes out, we have to have this nailed down so that there is 6 days that we can do this, and if we're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Yes, we can do that immediately.
Enough lead
Then I
time.
accept the 3 weeks. Urgency. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Concludes my report.